The biggest decision your company ever made was already settled before anyone walked into that boardroom. Here is how it really works. A VP walks into a Monday morning meeting and announces the company is killing its flagship product. 40 engineers sit in stunned silence. 6 months of work, gone in one sentence. Most people in that room think the decision was made that morning. It wasn't. That call started brewing 3 months ago in a hallway conversation nobody recorded. And if you understand how that process actually works, you will never be blindsided like that again. Every major corporate decision has a quiet phase that happens long before any official meeting gets scheduled. Someone senior notices a problem, maybe revenue is slipping, maybe a competitor just launched something threatening. They don't send a company-wide email about it. They mention it casually over coffee with another leader. A McKinsey study found that most strategic decisions take shape weeks before the formal approval process even begins. This is the phase where opinions harden and alliances form. The people who have influence during this stage are the ones who stay close to leadership, not through politics, but through consistent visibility and trust. If you only pay attention once the calendar invite lands, you've already missed the window where your input could have mattered most. Once a big decision moves from hallway talk to a real discussion, something predictable happens. Every department shows up with data that supports their preferred outcome. Sales brings pipeline numbers that justify expansion. Finance brings burn rate projections that justify cuts. Engineering brings velocity metrics that justify more time. None of them are lying, they are each telling a true story from their own angle. Harvard Business Review published research showing that executives typically receive 3 to 4 conflicting data narratives before making a major call. The leaders who actually shape outcomes are not the ones with the best spreadsheet. They are the ones who frame the question the decision is really about. Instead of arguing over whose numbers are right, they step back and ask, what problem are we actually solving here? That reframe changes everything because it forces the room to align on the question before fighting over the answer. Now comes the part everyone imagines when they think about big decisions, the actual meeting. But here is what most people get wrong about it. The decision is rarely made in the room. The room is where the decision gets confirmed. By the time senior leaders sit down together, most of them already know which way they are leaning. The meeting exists to pressure test that lean, to surface any last objections, and to create a shared record that the call was made collectively. Watch what happens in these meetings carefully. The most powerful person in the room is usually not the loudest. They ask short, pointed questions. They let others debate while they listen for the one argument that could change their mind. If nobody provides it, they close the discussion with something like, "Okay, I think we have enough to move forward." That sentence sounds casual, but it is the moment the decision locks. If you are ever in one of these rooms, your job is not to give a long presentation. Your job is to deliver the one insight that nobody else brought, in under 2 minutes. Behind every strategic decision, there is a layer that never appears on any slide deck. People are protecting their teams, their budgets, their reputations. A director might support a restructuring plan not because it is the best strategy, but because it expands their scope. A product lead might fight to keep a failing feature alive because they pitched it to the board last quarter and killing it feels like a personal loss. This is not corruption, it is human nature operating inside organizational structures. According to research from the Center for Creative Leadership, nearly 60% of strategic initiatives face internal resistance rooted in personal or departmental interests rather than genuine strategic disagreement. Understanding this does not make you cynical. It makes you realistic. When you see a decision that does not make sense on paper, ask yourself who benefits from this outcome. That question will explain 90% of confusing corporate moves. The decision gets made and then chaos begins. Most companies are shockingly bad at communicating big calls to the people who have to execute them. The leadership team spends weeks debating, reaches a nuanced conclusion, and then summarizes it in a 3-line Slack message. Middle managers hear it secondhand and interpret it differently. Frontline employees fill in the gaps with rumors. Within a week, 4 different versions of the decision are floating around the organization. Google's Project Aristotle research on team effectiveness showed that psychological safety and clarity of communication were the top predictors of whether teams could execute after a major shift. The companies that handle this well do something specific: they cascade the decision through structured conversations, not mass announcements. Each layer of leadership explains the why before the what, and they leave room for questions. The companies that handle it poorly just send an email and hope for the best. So what do you do with all of this? Start by paying attention to the quiet phase. When you hear a senior leader mention a concern casually, take note. That might be the seed of a decision that reshapes your entire quarter. Build relationships across departments so you hear multiple perspectives early, not just your team's version of reality. And next time a big decision drops and everyone around you is shocked, be the person in the room who already saw it coming. That kind of awareness is what separates people who react to change from people who shape it. Take 10 minutes today and think about the last major decision at your company, trace it backwards and find the moment it really started. You will be surprised how far back it goes. That's a wrap, thanks for watching. If this gave you one idea you can use today, hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.